Hey, what's up? Kalen here. Welcome to Commerce Hero Live. I'm joined today by two good people. Jason Cochran, head of engineering for Magento Marketplace. And Jason, hey, how's it going? Say what's up.
Buddy.
Hey, man. Over here in Austin, Liberty Hill, out with the goats.
That's right.
And Jisse, Rietsma.
That's almost close, yeah.
Out in the Netherlands, board member on Extension Developer Network, founder of Urio, and probably 6 other things I'm not thinking about right now. How's it going, man?
Good, yeah. Busy as always, but I'm now completely focused on XDN for sure.
Nice. So we're going to talk about Magento Marketplace stuff. For obviously Jason from Magento's perspective, you'll bring kind of the community perspective. I'll bring ridiculous perspective. And but Jisse, actually, what are all the things that you do? Like, if you could lay them all out, because I don't even know if I have them all in my head.
No, so I'm the owner of Urio, and as Urio, I'm developing extensions. And that's basically also how the thing is fitting together with XDN, Extension Developer Network. So I'm making a living as an extension developer. And apart from that, I'm also training people, developers, to learn how to deal with Magento 2 properly. I'm organizing conferences like Reacticon.
That's what I forgot. Right.
And there's a couple of other things as well, but that's like the main.
List them all out. This is your chance. We got all the time in the world. List them all out. I want the full resume.
Well, and maybe worth noting as well, I'm organizing a couple of user groups in the Netherlands as well. So it's basically events, trainings, extensions.
Got it.
To sum it up, yeah.
Community advocating, events, training, extensions. Awesome. And then, so Jason, and by the way, everybody in the stream here, if you have any questions, feel free to, oh shoot, I just remembered there's some questions from Reddit I have to go find from people that might not be able to be here. So while you guys are talking, I'm going to go find those so I have them. But if you have any questions, particularly if you can roast Jason at all, that would be fantastic. Throw them in here. We'll get them answered. Awesome. Not Jisse. Or me. Oh, by the way, shout out to Mage Talk. Just got this shirt. Thanks to Atwix for the illustration. Just got this today. Super excited. I'm going to wear this in every video from now on. Just like a crazy person. But so Jason, what's your background? How long have you been doing the Magento Marketplace? Where are you at?
Right. So I actually joined Magento in October 2016. I've been doing e-commerce for a long time. I won't say how long, but I'm an old guy, so been doing it for quite a while. I started working on e-commerce at Dell in 1999, if that tells you anything. And so I have a really strong background in enterprise e-commerce. I'm originally a .NET guy. I'm not a PHP guy, so don't get me in any PHP conversations. I only play one on YouTube live stream. So
we're just going to test you on a few PHP syntax issues. Nothing super complicated, I promise.
Not a big deal.
But it deals with extension quality in a high level. So
I can fake it. So my background since joining the company is, I run the engineering team for Marketplace. So I'm responsible for all the engineers that are working on the dev portal, all of the EQP automation backend systems, and the marketplace itself. So the Magento.
What's EQP automation?
Yeah, so the EQP program is the extension quality program. So this is a set of processes around how we ensure the quality of extensions are going into marketplace. And so that's part process, part automation, and some of what Jisse is going to talk about probably will fold into that nicely, because there's a lot of opportunity for contribution there, especially in the automation side.
Awesome. By the way, we got some heavy hitters in the room today. Shout out to Joe Rawlinson here, Best Worlds. Boris Gurvich from Unergy. We got to do a live stream, brother, because Boris is an OG Unergy, super incredible extension company, and we also have David Stilson in the room. So shout out everybody. So So yeah, I think everybody's super interested in the quality program. I saw a few questions about that. I'm going to pull up some specifics. Obviously, one of the main issues that you guys have really taken super seriously since the last iteration of Marketplace, a lot of issues around quality. Maybe give an overview of the different things you guys are doing around quality, and I'm sure Jisse is going to start jumping in with questions and critiques before you get a chance to even finish.
Sure. So
if I could break in there.
Go ahead.
No, just joking.
Yes. So when I joined in October, I joined at an interesting time. Marketplace had launched very recently, and the EQP program was fairly new. And the team was trying to figure out, like, what can we do from an automation point of view to make extension quality better. They had made some discoveries. A lot of information was coming out of our cloud product. The team that was implementing customers on our cloud product were finding extension issues that were otherwise not being reported to us. And we started digging into some of these things. And one of the biggest ones that we found was the issue around installing extensions in production mode, compiling in production mode. We found that of the 800 M2 extensions that we were selling on Marketplace in October 2016, about 50% of them would not compile in production mode. Which is a big deal, right? So for those that don't know, production mode is the mode in which you should be running Magento in your production environment. It's optimized for that.
That's important, folks.
That is super important, guys. And the problem there is like, well, okay, well, if 50% of the extensions out there were not working in that mode, what mode is people running Magento in production? So there was that bit. So we did a lot around educating folks on what that means, why they should be doing it. And we started going and cleaning up a lot of extensions. We also had spent some time, those of you that have been around for a while may remember that there was an L2, what we call an L2 program in extension quality. It's where we had a select group of partners that were participating in that program were getting manual QA done to their extensions by the team here at Magento. We found that there were enough quality issues from a manual QA point of view to justify doing manual QA for every extension. So we built a team specifically for doing that. And so if you look at the way the pipeline works for the extension quality program, there's what we call technical review, which is an automation pipeline. And then we have a manual QA review portion of that pipeline that technical review feeds into manual QA. 50% of the extensions that come through technical review today fail. Of the 50% that make it through technical review, 50% of those fail in manual QA. So we're doing a pretty good job of weeding out problematic extensions. But there's a problem there that, we're still getting a lot of extensions coming in that have bugs. And so this is where we hope, folks.
Mostly Jisse's extensions, I'd imagine.
Mostly almost all of them. This is where we hope some, folks like the Extension Developer Network can help us, right? Like we're severely gapped, I think, right now in terms of documentation about like how to do extensions right. And this is where I think we can, gain the most ground is by educating folks that are getting into this, because there's a huge opportunity for people that want to jump on the train, so to speak, with Magento and build products, good products. There's great opportunity. They just need to know how to do that the right way. And if you haven't been on Magento or playing with Magento since day one, I think it's a little bit of a learning curve. And so you got to get the right materials out there for these guys to know how to do it.
Right. And so, Jisse, what's been your experience? I know some people have obviously been like, man, it's taking forever to get my extension reviewed. What's been your experience around that? And then how do you think about the trade? Obviously, there's investing some significant resources on their end to do the manual QA. So what's been your experience yourself, or what you're hearing from the community? And how do you think that the trade-offs are being handled?
Yeah, well, so I have to be honest, my personal experience at this moment is almost like zero. I got a couple of extensions that I tried to upload to the new Marketplace about one year ago or so, and I failed. I didn't get through to the marketing review.
Got him.
However, that's just a personal story that I have, that I was also busy with organizing a lot of other stuff. And for instance, also hooking up with a couple of other extension providers like Headworks, One Step Checkout, Cobby, and Fullman. And Fullman actually started this initiative, XDN, about 2 years ago. And the main reason why it was started back then was to have leverage more or less towards Magento, while Magento was setting up Marketplace. But that was back then, and only like recently, half a year ago or a bit longer, we started to pick up on things again, focus on, well, what is XDN actually about? And part of that was also that we heard all of this feedback, this criticism on Marketplace. Reviews took too long. When something got stuck, it was because of a small reason, a small technical issue, and then once the issue was fixed, you had to wait for another 2 weeks or 3 weeks to fix it. So basically, as XDN, we got together and we started to talk about like, hey, but let's start talking with Magento as well, to try to solve this waiting time, to increase quality in extensions before actually submitting them to Marketplace. And we came up with a lot of good stuff. Part of it was also PHP code sniffer standards. Part of it was also the idea of a new automated system that allowed you to check Magento extensions, whether they were working in production mode and stuff. And then as soon as we started talking with the Marketplace team, basically we found out that they were busy building the same thing as well. So that's EQP2. And that's basically that.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah, great minds think alike. And basically we found out that Magento Marketplace and XDN simply have the same goal, to increase extension quality, to make sure that merchants are able to install the extensions without that much fuss. Yeah, so that was funny actually to experience that we got a lot of negative feedback from others that had bad experiences with Marketplace. But then once we start talking with the Marketplace team, there's actually a lot of good stuff coming up pretty quickly. So that's basically the EQP2 program that Jason was referring to. Yeah, and he hinted already a little bit towards that once you get into the whole problem of extensions, you always bump into issues. There's always a couple of flaws, a couple of things that should be improved, and it's basically like a never-ending story. However, once you realize that, you need to make sure that you listen to a lot of people, you talk to a lot of people about their experiences, merchants, developers, system integrators, and etc. And that's basically, I think, what we're currently doing. XDN is talking to Marketplace, Marketplace is talking to merchants and developers. We're trying to talk to them, and we're just trying to, well, get the whole thing organized as in a feedback loop, so that we can help each other in a better way.
Right. A lot of stuff in there. I'm curious where when your extensions got rejected through the automatic review, did you feel like you had enough information on sort of why they were rejected? Did you think that the reasons? I mean, I totally understand. It's like you didn't have time to kind of resubmit it. You kind of just put it on the back burner. But did you feel like the feedback you got made sense? Was it reasonable? Whatever automated tool was kind of finding issues in the extensions?
Well, back then I got a couple of pointers towards the technical nature of the extension, and those were pretty easy to solve. However, since then the quality standards of Marketplace also went up. So it's basically that whatever was checked for 1 year ago is now much more strict, and that's actually showing that Marketplace is also trying to improve a lot of things. The things that currently people are bumping into are not really related to production mode. because that should be more or less amongst good developers, that should be considered like an easy do. Well, whenever you want to release your own extension, make sure it works in production mode, make sure it works under the Magento versions that you claim claim to be compatible with. But it's the feedback that I get now is much more into the details part, that let's say you build a Magento extension that hooks into the checkout, but a specific checkout feature that was only introduced at a specific version. Then this version compatibility should be written in the right semantic versioning in the composer.json file. And that's already so much into detail, discussing also like which parts of Magento are under the so-called API standard, and which parts are not. So it's like slowly the issues that developers have are getting more into detail. That's my general impression.
Okay.
Meaning that it's progressing on a quality level because of all of those details. However, we're not done yet. There's still a long way to go, I think, before we have an ideal scenario.
Got it. And Jason, feel free to jump in anytime if there's anything you want to chime in on. But got a question here from Boris, which is we need to be able to resubmit packages during the review process. Maybe can add a button to reset status or so it can be uploaded.
So I think what he's probably referring to there is in the middle of a review, they may discover a fix that they may discover a bug or something they forgot to do, and they want to be able to maybe cancel, so it kind of aborts the current review process and lets them resubmit. I'm assuming that's what they're talking about.
Feel free to clarify, Boris, if that's not what you meant. But yeah, that sounds about right.
Right. And so that's definitely not a feature of the current EQP system. So one of the things that Jisse was referring to is this EQP2 concept. So we have kind of what we call current state EQP or EQP1. And then what we're delivering later in the summer is a complete re-architecture of the entire dev portal and underpinning sort of EQP subsystem. And with that comes a lot of really cool features, the ability ultimately to be able to kind of make changes at points in the process where you couldn't make them before, like the one that Boris is describing. It also allows for the parallelization of certain components of the process that don't exist today. Like, it's very linear today. You submit your extension, it goes through some automation, it goes through some QA, and then it goes through a marketing review. And you may not find out until the very tail end during marketing review that you have some marketing issues. There's no reason why those things should happen serially. So we broke this up and said, hey, we're going to make some of these things asynchronous to one another. Some of this stuff was talked about at Imagine by Erica Talbot and Ravi Menon. And I think some of those materials will be available, the slideware and whatnot. But yeah, so that's all exactly the kind of stuff that we're bringing with EQP2, and also a lot of enhanced reporting for sellers. So not only enhanced sales reporting, but sort of Google Analytics style metrics to let you know how your product's performing on marketplace from that point of view. So lots of good features there.
Nice.
Maybe also to hook into that, I also attended like the talk of Erica and Ravi, and Ravi Menon, part of your team, if I guessed it correctly, also mentioned the new EQP2 API that is coming up as well. And that's to my belief, that's really one of the more awesome features in there as well. Meaning that if you have your own build script to check for compatibility, coding checks, and etc. on your own site before actually submitting it to Marketplace, that would be like one major improvement that the community could make. But then once it's submitted, we don't want to submit it by manually logging into to the Marketplace, uploading it, dealing with zip packages and etc. We're developers, so we simply want to automate that whole process of submitting new releases, and that's made possible by this new API as well. So that was basically one of the things that I really started to cheer about.
Yeah, definitely. So that's something, a message that we heard last year at Magento. There you go. Yeah, anyone that's interested in continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment will look at that feature and go, yeah, thanks a lot. That's what we've needed. And also just, even without submitting stuff through the API, we want to make sure that all this tooling is available locally as well. So pretty much about 99.9% of all of the tests that we'll run, automation tooling, everything can be replicated in your local environment should you choose to do that as well. The only thing right now that's fairly proprietary is our anti-plagiarism detection stuff. So we don't really want to share that out, because this is where basically we use that software to guarantee the authenticity of the extensions that are submitted to Magento. And we'll have some more information kind of coming out about that later in the summer as well. But this is something we kind of keep in-house. We wouldn't want that to be corrupted.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, everything
that
else,
should make Karen happy, though.
Oh yeah. And I've had long discussions with Karen about this topic. So despite what folks might believe, Karen and I are actually quite close. And she's now a fellow Texan, so she's got that going for her.
Let's see here. So we're jumping around a little bit, and again, you guys can feel free to ask questions at any time. We're kind of just gonna do a lot of jumping. This was a question from Reddit. Are these features on the roadmap? If so, are they short-term or long-term? Support for a way to provide additional module dependent on some criteria, for example, enterprise module or Magento version. That's the one feature. And then the next one, allowing customers to download all software available by license. Hopefully those questions made sense.
The second one, I think I kind of understand. It sounds like I'm guessing maybe is that a mass download? I'm not sure. I'd have to get some clarification on what that is.
Yeah, I think so. And this is one of the reasons it's great when people ask live in the stream, because they can clarify, but he wasn't able to make it. But yeah, I'm guessing just a mass download of everything for all the different licenses.
Yeah, I would say definitely for folks that have questions that we can't address, definitely reach out to me via Twitter, and I'll provide some other Twitter handles for other folks on the team for specifics. If the question can't be answered here, I don't have enough detail to answer that one.
And maybe to comment on that, there was also the question on the roadmap of EQP2 and the other stuff. The slides of Erica Talbot and Ravi Menon that they presented from the Magento Marketplace team to the community at Imagine. Those slides are available online as well. So I'm not sure what the link is, but they are available.
Nice. And then there was another question, which basically was about improved reporting, things like product page views. And I think you already spoke to that. I think you said there's going to be some kind of Google Analytics style reporting landing with the new version.
So I can give a little bit more info there. So we want to give more robust reporting from kind of just a sales performance point of view. So just something, if you look at what we have today, it's simply, here's by product, the number of sales that each product's made. We kind of do a tally for you, simple tabular format. We want to be able to offer more rich reporting capabilities around that. So that's kind of table stakes sales stuff. The other thing is that we want to open up GA data so that you can see how your products are performing. And we've even experimented with some ideas around, opening up data for like, how's your product performing from a GA perspective relative to other products that may be similar to yours or in the same category as yours. Want to arm sellers with the right kind of information so they might make adjustments. Maybe they're not marketing their product sufficiently enough, and they just need to make some adjustments there. Anything that we can do to provide them with that information to help them out, that's what we want to do.
Nice. And then just going back through Boris's question to clarify was, I think you might have addressed this, but they have a U-Dropship waiting for QA review, which can take several weeks. Meanwhile, a new minor version of Magento came out, so they've made some changes. You talked about kind of parallelizing marketing review and tech review and things like that. But if something's waiting a couple of weeks in tech review and then there's an update they have to push, are they going to be able to push that update specifically in the tech review process, or they got to just wait till it's done?
Right. Eventually in EQP2, I don't believe this is a feature that we're rolling out on the first release, but it should be a fast follow feature, is the ability to kind of remove yourself from the current
queue.
Kind of abort that review and then resubmit. You'll have that level of flexibility. The one saving grace there is depending on when that extension enters into any particular segment of the review pipeline, we do frequently update. For example, if this were a patch release for Magento, we frequently update the test images that we use. So chances are that if it's a patch level change, we shouldn't theoretically see a need for a resubmission unless there's some feature that was introduced that they want to take advantage of. It shouldn't fail. If there are cases where you think your extension is going to fail because we've made available a patch release of Magento, I'd love to hear why that would be, because we may have a gap in terms of our understanding of breaking changes on the Magento side, and that is totally possible. So we'd love to hear that kind of feedback.
Right. Have you guys thought about, I know this might be, some people might not like this idea, but have you guys thought about a way to allow people to maybe pay in order to go for priority support in the queue? For example, I think of Vimeo, which is a video uploading service. You can upload your video for free, but it'll take 24 hours to process. If you pay, they prioritize it and it gets processed faster. I could imagine, that some people would hate that idea, but you have guys like, extension vendors like Unergy that have a pretty substantial business. I'm sure it might make sense for them to want to pay a certain amount versus, somebody that is just doing a side project, not making income from it. I don't know if you have any tie-ins to the technology partnership program around that.
Right. I think we have a better idea, and I'm not saying that that's off the table. How dare I? I think the better idea, and again, I'll keep pounding the EQP2 drum here. We're not doing a very good job right now of kind of understanding and scoring sellers and their extensions from a kind of overall EQP performance perspective. And what I mean by that, it's not necessarily quality, but like we want to find a way to help incentivize folks that are good actors within the EQP system, right? And help those people, like if they have a history, for example, of submitting good quality products, and they've eventually, when MFTF gets incorporated later in the year, cover their code with tests. We want to make sure that we give those folks an express lane through the process, and so you're gonna hear a lot more about kind of our scoring and EQP2 around those things. And that, I think, is a better way, because then it encourages people to do the right thing, and it rewards them for doing the right thing, not just kind of pay to play.
That does sound a lot better. And then, and so if they do have the resources to invest those in the automated testing, that improves their quality, that increases buy-in in the MTAF. And yeah, that's definitely
right.
So that's why they pay you the big bucks.
That's why they pay me the big. Yeah. Do they pay me the big bucks? I think that if I had to sum up what the mission of Marketplace and EQP is, and I said this at Imagine in 2017, we're here to provide the most high quality products to the merchant that we can. We're not necessarily, we definitely want to help our partners. We definitely want to help extension developers. We want to do it in a safe way, because if we don't provide value for the merchants, then we fail, right? So, like I said, should there be an opportunity for folks to kind of pay for a faster route through the system? I would be curious to know what that route is that wouldn't involve a considerable amount of risk. So we'd have to analyze that. I couldn't answer right now whether or not that's possible.
Got it.
Well, maybe to chime in a little bit on the whole process and the waiting time. Like a lot of times, actually, the people that are now looking for Marketplace to give feedback on any kind of topic, most likely the topic involves the time aspect, that it takes a long time to actually go through the automated testing process and then the manual QA as well. So it feels a little bit like this whole hangout is a little bit about EQP2, but that's simply because I got the impression also that there's a lot of awesome stuff coming up. The vision that we guys of XDN also have is that once the elements of EQP2 are open sourced, are available to others, then we can just contribute, just like Jason just mentioned it. That's the whole goal of open sourcing it. Contribute to making those tools better. But likewise, instead of actually just making them better, then uploading an extension to Marketplace again, and then seeing it fail again at your site. What we envision is actually that we're trying to promote also using those tools in continuous integration environments, so that basically any test that might fail during the automated QA process of Marketplace actually fails already before you simply release the extension itself. So before actually uploading it to Marketplace, with basically two benefits. You guys need to, or Magento needs to spend less time on it, reviewing that something went wrong in the automated process. And for extension developers, there's the benefit basically of the extension failing earlier, so that before actually releasing the stuff, you already know that you can't release it because of various reasons. So the more that the automated QA tools of Marketplace are basically open sourced, handed back to the community, the more the community is able to contribute to it. And likewise, the more the community is able to use it before actually Marketplace comes into play, making sure that actually less time needs to be spent by the Marketplace engineering team to troubleshoot stuff.
Right. Yeah.
It shorts again the whole period of waiting time again.
Yeah, exactly. I would say one area to focus on, you guys are probably already hearing about this quite a bit, is the Magento functional test framework. So that's kind of the golden ticket through the system, here later in the year. Folks that have a good history of playing well with EQP and cover their software with MFTF tests should see a dramatic change in the amount of time it takes them to get from submission through to being deployed out on Marketplace. I mean, it could shave it down from a couple of weeks if you're getting caught up in the manual QA process to maybe a couple of days, right? Our goal is to try to get this down for, on average, less than a week from the time you submit to the time it gets out into Marketplace. But what we need is for folks to be willing to participate in their own rescue and do automation testing. So to your point, getting MFTF integrated into EQP later in the year is really the way we're going to do that. And EQP2 right now is, we're in the process of building out a brand new automation system. Our DevOps team, the dev team here in Austin, completely gutted the automation system of EQP1 and rebuilt it from the ground up so that we can meet the scaling needs that are going to be on us whenever MFTF comes into play, because these could be some long-running tests. So we're making a huge investment there, and it's very important for us.
Nice. This is a random question, but how much time on average, I'm sure it varies by extension complexity, but like, I'm curious how much time dev hours, essentially developer hours, you're having to spend on manual review for each extension. I mean, that seems like a massive amount of work.
From a QA point of view?
When you do the manual QA, I'm assuming you're having people like read the code and things like that. Like how much time does that take for each extension?
So I'll give you some stats there. So I have 6 people who on average look at roughly 100 to 120. They run 100 to 120 tests per week. That doesn't mean that we're looking at 120 extensions per week, because some of these are reentrant resubmissions. And like I said before, about half of those fail. But the average time, it's hard because every extension is different. You have extensions that are very simple, and you have some that are very complex.
Like Jisse's.
I'm not saying anything.
Right. But you could figure on average anywhere between an hour. I have a cat climbing over here real quick. Hang on, get out of here, kitty. Hour to 2 hours per extension. The average wait time right now is just under 2 weeks from the moment an extension hits the queue to the time that it gets picked up. So yeah, they're cranking through quite a bit.
Got it. That's awesome. And I mean, it's just the resources you guys are investing there are significant. Question from Joe Rollinson. My question is, can we get better communication with the actual reviewer? We have a question about OS3 license with how we're implementing our advanced A/B test extension and don't have any direct dialogue. This reminds me of an IRS situation I'm dealing with right now. It's like if you call into the IRS about something, the person you talk to doesn't have any specifics about your situation, only the person assigned to it, but you can't talk to them directly. Anyway, TMI, but is there any way for them to kind of discuss things directly?
Yeah, I think the issue they're probably describing right now is that when you have a question, we encourage you to go through our support desk. We have a team of folks that work really hard at kind of being the first line of defense for these issues. And typically the way you do that is we have a contact form, or you can email marketplace@magento.com and it hits our support queue. I would say start there. We're trying to build up a knowledge base that will help us kind of answer a lot of these questions from that point of view. If not, the guys that work the support desk literally work 20 feet from the folks that are doing the manual QA, and they can kind of crosswalk that over in a lot of cases. And in most cases, we do just open up a dialogue via email directly between the QA reviewer and the developer.
Got it.
So if that doesn't work, email me or hit me up on Twitter directly, and I can help you out.
Got it. And if all else fails, we'll give you his address. You can go.
Yeah, you can drive up here to Liberty Hill and pay me a visit.
Follow-up question from Boris, which I think is probably also relevant to others, which is it's time critical for us right now to resubmit. What options do we have? And you talked about how obviously you have this massive new version launching that's going to resolve a lot of these issues for extension developers that are really kind of hurting right now, needing to get their new version up to date. Obviously, there's only so much you can do with to speed things up. But is there any other way people can try to speed things up? Any plan Bs as far as maybe promoting obviously they can send customers to their own site to download the extension, but what do you generally tell people that are like, man, I'm really hurting, like what else can I do?
Right. So one of the things that we implemented a couple of months ago was a change to allow for the fast tracking of patch level changes. These are changes that should be fairly benign. We introduced some code that basically analyzes the inbound submission, and if the submitter says, hey, this is a patch release, and semantic versioning states that it's a patch release, and our automation detects that they just haven't plugged in a complete rewrite of their extension, we will fast track that through the process via automation. It does not give you the opportunity to change any of your marketing information. I think it will only allow you to change probably the release notes. And if you do that and you pass that test, it should go through nearly instantaneously. What we're finding though is that there's differences of opinion around what constitutes a patch release and what doesn't. And so the efficacy of that change is debatable right now, and we're working on tuning that up. But that's what I would say is step one is, and we can post a link to the blog article that talks about this, but understand that if you're submitting a patch, there is a way to do it that will get you through the system rather quickly. In the case where you're trying to, kind of halt one submission because you need to make a change, in that particular case, I'd say for Boris in particular, reach out to us via the help desk, and note that you brought this up and kind of put me in the notes, and I'll see what I can do to maybe help that out directly.
Got it. And Jisse, like from your perspective, like for people that are maybe kind of hurting business wise, to get something through that's taking some time, any like just practical advice? I mean, it could be as simple as driving more people to their website or whatever, but what do you see people doing that are, kind of struggling a little bit while they're waiting?
Well, I think a lot of time people, they tend to not want to see the overview of the whole thing. That once they upload an extension, it's basically the problem of Magento And then once the waiting time gets too long, then basically it's Magento to blame. And I disagree with that. We should actually, as a community, come up with a broader vision. And this broader vision is actually that once a lot of extensions are uploaded to Marketplace and 50% of them simply don't work properly, it basically means that the other 50% that does a proper job also loses time because of the bad quality extensions. So the higher the level of extensions, the higher the level of quality of the extensions overall, the better it becomes. And that means actually that instead of complaining about the waiting times, just accept that Magento is doing a good job in improving the whole QA process. And meanwhile, they're also trying to keep up with all of the new extension submits that are happening every week. But on a larger scale, I would recommend people actually to look forward to this whole EQP2 process. First of all, in general, like the features of EQP2 are awesome. But more practically, maybe also, and that's more in the area of XDN. We're also looking really forward to practically helping Magento Marketplace once they open sourced a couple of things to improve it. And simply by improving part of the tool chain of Marketplace, we're actually helping the whole community, because potentially waiting times are shortcutted. The automated QA is decreased dramatically, and that means that Magento actually has more time available for the manual QA process. And actually, one of the things that we came up with was also the conclusion that waiting for EQP to be released and then finding out that it still had some shortcomings and then starting to contribute was a bad approach. So instead, with XDN, we decided to get our hands dirty and just start doing stuff. Since Imagine, and that's about like 1.5 weeks ago, we started this GitHub repository, which is all about the PHP code sniffer standards. And it's a really tiny beginning, but it starts with rules like do not inject the object manager into a class, except for when it's a factory and etc. Try to use the strict typing in PHP code. Try to get the right dependencies in your own XML. And it's a lot of these lists that basically practically allow an extension developer to make sure that his or her own extensions are smoother. But by actually contributing this to a general repository like the one of XDN right now, we can basically come up with new rules. And once Magento Marketplace is actually ready to receive those contributions, everything that we build can flow back into the EQP2 streamline as well. So my general advice would be to really be blunt about it. Stop bitching, start contributing, because it's not that Marketplace is an evil thing. It's basically a team of a lot of human beings that are trying to do their best to solve an issue which is actually really hard to solve, and that is try to raise the extension level for everybody, but still try to be open to newcomers as well, and try to be friendly in new people that are submitting new extensions with new good ideas. So the Marketplace, as I see it, is always full of discussion, and those discussions will not appear. But let's make those discussions more productive, and let's see what we as a community can do to actually improve things as well.
Right. And I mean, you know, to be fair, everybody's in different situations. Like you're not as much dependent on the Marketplace, you know, yourself. As you mentioned, I'm not personally. Other people, you know, may depend on that more. So it may be more of a pain point for them, but totally, I think you make a great point there. Have you, Jason, thought at all about like crowdsourcing the manual review? I know that a lot of times the default thing is like, well, let's just have the community do it, which I know it wouldn't be, it's not that simple.
Can you imagine the NDA that everyone would have to sign?
I can actually. I've seen some Magento legal.
So yeah, no, totally. We thought about that, and in the NDA sort of question would be a big one, right? It's like, how do you crowdsource someone else's code out? I mean, how do you trust that everyone's going to be playing nice and not just stealing ideas? Because plagiarism is a huge problem. I mean, you see every day. What you guys don't hear about is the amount of plagiarism that we see constantly. There's a lot of bad actors out there. So what we did when we were thinking about this problem is like, well, let's de-emphasize manual QA. Let's try to get as fast as we can to automated QA, right? Let's push our chips to that side of the table. And so we're betting that that's going to be the answer that relieves pressure. Because if you think about it, we would never be able to scale. We're seeing more and more extensions being developed with each passing day than the previous day. Like there's a lot of people interested in building extensions on Magento. I can't go out and just keep hiring manual QA people as we scale up. So
you could.
I could. Yeah. So yeah, we think that's the answer. We think MFTF and other types of tests are the answer there.
No, you're totally
maybe
right.
to respond to that as well. So like with XDN, we were worried about what Marketplace was actually doing to make sure that all of the issues that are currently there with Marketplace could be solved, and we're pretty confident that it's really going well. But the next stage would be actually to come up with best practices, a full set of tools that any extension developer is able to use, just to double check that whatever is submitted to Marketplace is of good value. And likewise, as XDN, so I personally, I'm thinking even broader, not only the extensions on Marketplace, but basically any extension should be of good quality. So to get you there, there's all of these different tools, and actually MFTF is one of the things that has caused a lot of debate actually among developers as well. Like yet another XML-based system that does a lot of checking. However, once you realize that it has a purpose and it's actually easy to use, and it's allowing one extension to extend upon the tests of Magento through this XML layer, it has a lot of good things. And as XDN, we're discussing like the low-level rules of how to add PHP code properly to an extension right now through this GitHub repository that I just mentioned. However, we're also thinking about like moving to a general recommendation: use MFTF, use integration testing, use unit testing, use a lot of testing, because it not only makes the life of yourself easier, the development process might become easier on the long run, but you're also helping Marketplace, and you're helping, well, basically everybody. So we're indeed also really enthusiastic about MFTF becoming a more solid and usable thing.
Totally. Jason, anything that like you'd like feedback from the community on in general, questions you have?
Yeah, I mean, things that I'm curious about are, what do they want to see from Marketplace in terms of buyer features? So we've talked a lot about EQP and sort of the seller side of things. What do they think would be great features to see on Marketplace? What's going to help them sell more? What's going to make Marketplace more valuable to them as a seller?
Let's think about the customers here.
Yeah. That's, ultimately the idea is that we're exposing these extensions to buyers, and how are we marketing and merchandising those products on the store? If you go and look at most of the extension developers out there, if you look at like a Headworks or Amnesty or any of these guys, all of them are running stores of their own. They're all doing very creative things to try to sell extensions. What features that are effective for them might also be effective if they were implemented on Marketplace. We are very eager to hear those things. From an EQP side, from a dev portal side, know that a new dev portal is going to be launching this summer. Some folks probably caught a glimpse of that through some of the screenshots and things that Erica and those guys shared at Imagine. There is a presentation out there that's got some of that in it, and you're going to see more of that in the form of webinars and things coming up. Give us feedback on what you're seeing there. What do you think is missing? What would be any features there? We heard a lot about reporting. The reporting sucks. We don't know what's going on. Message received. So we're going to go off and do a bunch there. But there's sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And then, once people start seeing the product that we're rolling out, we definitely want to get the feedback and integrate that back into our roadmap.
Nice. Jisse, any thoughts as far as like buyer features?
No, personally, I don't have any. Well, I don't have that much experience selling my own extensions through Marketplace, so I have to be honest there. However, what we're trying to do with XDN is also gather feedback. So this is basically also maybe an open invitation from the Marketplace team, but also XDN to basically talk with us at any event possible or online or whatever. We're all trying to gather feedback, and it somehow it grew in the last years, more like a feeling that a lot of people they felt unheard. So they didn't have had the feeling that Magento was listening to them. Well, that's going to change. That is already changing. So actually, at a lot of different Meet Magento events, there's Magento folks of the MFTF team or EQP team or Marketplace in general listening, meaning that you need to step to them and actually start discussing things, because then that's their opportunity to get that feedback. And that's basically the same thing that we're also trying to do. As XDN, we're also joining up with a couple of Meet Magento conferences in Europe coming up, like Italy, Netherlands, UK, and so on. And we're simply eager to hear about all of the horror stories on Marketplace. We all also hear that some system integrators are not willing to use Marketplace. Well, tell us why and what should be changing to actually make it happen. So I think that the more feedback we can get out there and give to each other, the happier we would become.
Nice. Jason, have you guys looked at doing, just occurred to me, like recommended extensions, like maybe somebody installs, checkout upsell or something, and then you have data on the fact that maybe they should also use another email related extension or something. Sure. And then you can send those out, email recommendations or on-site recommendations.
Yeah. We actually have some features in the roadmap in the backlog right now around people who bought this also bought that type of stuff, as well as recently viewed items, so that you can kind of add some stickiness there. All of that stuff is being looked at right now. We're probably looking for validation also from other sellers, like how effective has this stuff been for you on your own site. We're in a unique position because we can't really compare Marketplace to the seller's own store. The seller's not competing with anyone else on their store, where in Marketplace they are. Marketplace is, we will by the end of this month have over 3,500 extensions, both M1 and M2 combined, listed there. So the challenges that we have are around features, and this is where I'd like feedback. What sort of features should we implement to help buyers make a buying decision easier? You could think of things like, being able to do better product comparisons. Now you get into the world of, deep data attribution, or to be able to do a really good product comparison feature. But, maybe that's where we need to go. We need to hear that stuff. And we've got some really good UX people, as you well know. And we're going to continue to engage with those folks. You were talking about people being at these events and speaking directly, doing the research. The XDN guys definitely take advantage of people like Danielle Mundell and folks like that. These are terrific, bright, high IQ people that can help, weed through kind of all of the weird stuff that you kind of have to encounter when you're trying to get down to the root cause of some of these problems. We should definitely think about partnering up on a lot of that stuff.
Nice. Good stuff. Well, I think that I think I've gotten most of my questions out of the way. Jisse, any questions you have for Jason, or any other topics that are top of mind for you?
Well, I don't have any questions for Jason. Well, I have a lot of questions, but I simply have the feeling that XDN and Marketplace are slowly starting to communicate more openly to each other. So that's a good thing anyway. What I personally would love to add is still that I mentioned it a couple of times. There's this GitHub repository under the XDN space, which is dealing with PHP code sniffer standards. And it was brought to life a few days after Imagine. And since then, actually, the whole thing already exploded a little bit with a lot of people actually contributing, and actually a lot of people that are not actually members of XDN itself, which is kind of awesome. So I want to shout out also that Fabian Schmengler is one of the guys actually leading the repository, and Lars Rutik is one guy that just committed, I think, 2 or 3 new rules, implemented them. So that's kind of cool to actually see that the community is also on board, but we could always use more help with that as well. And yeah, remember that we don't see XDN actually as our own initiative. We're not going to compete with Marketplace. We're not going to build another Marketplace. No, we simply want to have a successful Magento Marketplace, because that would be a healthy sign of a good extension ecosystem. But to get there, we need to work together. So any contributions are welcome.
Nice. Jason, one question I have, just in terms of like connecting with the Magento community as a whole. I think you said you've been in, you started a couple years ago, and one of the things I like, sometimes people within Magento are a bit more reserved on social media and things like that. And I love how you just kind of get out there, you kind of get our humor. You give jabs and take them. And I really like that. Like, I think the way you engage with the community is really healthy and engaging. So how are you finding that, like, the community in general?
Yeah, maybe I missed some social media training that I probably need to go take.
Everybody does.
You missed a couple HR sessions for sure.
I think it's important to not just connect with people on professional topics, but get to know them, get to know the personalities. I thought Imagine was really cool. I got to meet a lot of people face to face. I had only known through Twitter. But that's kind of person I am. I'm not, to be honest with you, Kalen, you know this, you've been out to my place. I'm not I don't spend a lot of time on the computer outside of work. I've got a lot of other interests and things that demand a lot of my time. So I do spend a lot of time just talking to people face to face. And so, yeah, maybe my Twitter chops need some improving, but yeah, I think it's great. Everybody that I've met has been really good. Even the folks that are most critical of Marketplace have always, had good intentions, and I appreciate their honesty and candor, and it's great.
Nice. Do you think that there, I mean, we've talked about, yes, you've talked about some of the different events there are and spaces for developers to talk, communicate with XDN or people Magento side. Do you think that there could be, and Jason, you're talking about seeing people face to face. Do you think there's space for like maybe more events or spaces for people to kind of talk through these issues, cross-pollinate, get you more feedback, or is there already kind of enough going on with the different sessions at Imagine, the different meetups and things like that?
Well, everybody who has or doesn't have any social media training is still welcome to join the whole social media discussion, meaning that a lot of things can actually happen online. In 2017, there was also a Marketplace summit where actually extension developers could join Magento Marketplace to discuss a lot of different topics. And unfortunately, 2018, such an event was not there. Maybe Imagine 2019 it will be there. Maybe at Magento Live Barcelona there will be such an opportunity. But we've actually mentioned this also towards Pranav Prius from Magento Marketplace. And he also mentioned that he's really eager to actually get feedback on a lot of different topics as well through online meetings. And yet again, like Magento folks are also traveling around at conferences. So is XDN. And for instance, the 1st of June, there's a home game for me, Meet Magento, the Netherlands. And there's going to be a couple of dev exchange tables, just like at Imagine. And one of those dev exchange tables will be about extension quality, extension interoperability. Meaning that both Magento and XDN are also eager to talk. But then, well, any Magento event could be a forum for that. I don't think there needs to be like a specific event specifically on extensions. That would be too limiting or too complex or whatever. But I think there's
Mage Marketplace Fest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
throwing that out there.
Yeah, and then they come up.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, yeah, no, that makes sense. And hopefully everybody can check out all the things that Jisse's mentioned. Check out the GitHub repository. Jason, anything as we get ready to close up here, anything you want to plug, anything you want to point people to check out specifically leading up to that big summer launch?
Yeah, I would say there's a few people you probably want to follow on Twitter. I've actually have a groovy high tech, list of them here. So yeah, Ravi Menon is the architect for all of the tech stuff on the marketplace side. Definitely keep in touch with him. I know Jisse that he's going to be reaching out to you guys about the code sniffs, because we do definitely want to make sure that we get together on all that. On the product side, Erica Talbot, follow her. She's basically everything seller related. So she owns all the EQP and all the dev portal stuff. Maura Cyrus on the buyer side, she's the product owner for Marketplace. And then Maura and Erica both work for Pranav, who we talked about. Definitely follow Pranav. Super high IQ guy. He's got a lot of stuff going on. He's also running our cloud product. So definitely understands what's going on inside Magento.
You've called a lot of people high IQ people. I don't know you've ever referred to me as a high IQ person. I'm not sure if that's on.
So this is time to wrap up.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed the call. Have some delicious Smoky Mo's barbecue.
There you go.
Oh, and promotion-wise, here's also a little XDN sticker. So once you head over to the conference where we're at, you get some.
Nice. Looks good. By the way, Jason has all the hookups on the best barbecue in town here in Austin. He's taken me to a couple places, so you can check that out. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. On Monday, we have a very exciting guest, Benjamin H. Marks. I don't even know if H is his middle initial or not, but it's somehow stuck in my head. Sounds right? So we're having him on. Super excited about that. And that's about it. So thanks again for joining in. Really appreciate the questions. Hopefully we addressed them-ish. I know Boris had a bunch of follow-ups. Hopefully we kind of helped a little bit with that. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.